evening. Here is top news newsletter, starting with headlines. Many terrorist kills as the cross-down continues all across the country. Zionists infuriated with nuclear deal, dangerous historic mistake. Iran global powers agree key parameters of nuclear deal. Units of the army and armed forces destroyed terrorist organizations' dens, killing many of their members in Rajm al-Qasr and Rastan in the countryside of the central Homs province. An army unit kills a number of terrorists in the countryside of southern Quneitra province. The army destroyed the dens of terrorists in the area surrounding Busra Sham city in the countryside of southern Darad province, killing a number of terrorists along with their leaders. More terrorists were killed in the area surrounding the old customs building and the other separate areas in Dar al-Balad neighborhood in Daraa city. The army carried out intensive operations in various areas in the country of Hama province. Some of those were concentrated in the eastern countryside and Kafr Zita in the northern Hama. Several vehicles with the terrorists on board were destroyed in this area. Infuriated Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will lead talks with Zionist senior security officials. The outcome of marathon talks between the Iranian and global power has angered the Israeli regime, with warming in Tel Aviv calling it a historic mistake and dangerous step. During a phone call, Netanyahu raised his aggression rhetoric against Iran's peaceful nuclear activities, claiming that the framework agreements reached in the Swiss city of Lausanne on Thursday would increase the risk of nuclear prohibition and the risk of the horrific war. Obama, however, rejected the claim, telling him that the mutual understanding represented a significant progress toward a lasting, comprehensive solution on Iran's nuclear program, according to a statement by the White House on Friday. The Zionist entity has warned against such a deal, and Netanyahu said Thursday that the agreement would have a significantly roll back Iran's nuclear capacity. The primary traveled to Washington last month and addressed the U.S. Congress, insisted that any political for the nuclear-armed Tehran threatened the Zionist entity's very existence. The last month after Netanyahu's speech at the Congress aimed at deterring the UN P5+1 talks, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif said that Israel Prime and his supporters are trying to create an atmosphere of hysteria and fear of monitoring. Iran and world powers said they are reached agreement on Thursday on a key parameter of a potentially historic nuclear deal. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said that draft of agreement would begin immediately after marathon talks in the Swiss city of Lausanne. The test of a binding agreement is to finish by June 30th, Rouhani added before a joint statement between Iran and the P5+1 group of leading nations was to be needed in Lausanne. After 8 days of talks, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry tweeted it was a big day and that a global power and Iran now have a parameter to resolve major issues on nuclear program, back to work as soon as the final deal. EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Morgherini held a good news at the talks and said that Iran's capacity to enrich uranium would be reduced. The German Foreign Minister said an understanding had just been reached on a key point of the accord. The aim before this round of talks began was to agree the main counter of a deal to be finalized by June 30th that reduces the scale of Iran's nuclear program in return for relief for painful sanctions. The powers hoped that this was to make it impossible for Iran to make nuclear weapons under the guise of its civilian program and end the crisis raging for 12 years. Global power wants Iran to scale down its nuclear program to extend the breakout time needed to assemble enough nuclear material to make a bomb, which Iran has always denied seeking. But Iranian negotiators have been under pressure from domestic hardlines not to give too much away, while also delivering on Rouhani's promise to win the lifting of the sanctions. Hezbollah and the Future Movement held a ninth session of a dialogue as they tackled several local issues. In a statement released following the meeting late on Thursday, the participants confirmed the continuation of the dialogue in accordance with the rules it was based on. The discussion tackled a number of internal issues related to reviving the work of state institutions and completing security plans in order to maintain internal stability. Future was represented by the head of former Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri. Sayed Hassan Nasrallah last week said that Hezbollah would go on with the dialogue despite provocations by several figures within the Future movement. Within the Future movement, there was a figure that firmly opposed this dialogue and sought to renew it from its first beginning, as Said Nasrallah said during a speech. We will go on the dialogue as it actually serves national interest and does not serve that of certain groups. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Inas Ahmed. Good night.